Hello everyone, welcome back to the lab, and also welcome back to the newest report of the TCG Burst of Destiny North America Metagame Report number 10. So this week there's quite a few tournaments happened since like compared to last weekend, the New Year weekend. So this weekend there's like about six remote duel regionals during the weekend, as well as two big dueling book tournaments. One of them being a 3v3 CCS with 36 teams, and the other one being the Dragon Rider Games DCS with 111 players happened. And for IOL, there is a PPG PS5 tournament happened at PPG for was 69 players. So yeah, we are getting quite a good amount of tournament results during the week. I guess a lot of people really want to play test for the final weekend before now the remote devices instead of YCS Pasadena for the incoming weekend. So this is the pie chart for this week. Out of all the tournaments, there were a total of 84 decks being collected, and we can see the pie chart is still relatively the same, being Sorcerer taking first, and then Lyrillus, Tri-Brigade, and Invoke Dogmatica taking second, third. But after that, there's like a newcomer. Prankits actually got about six results finished in this weekend, tied with Drytron finishing fourth and fifth place. So that's something new. I guess some people really start testing out prank kits before the Brave Token engine even come here later this month. So if we look deep into the breakdown, there were 18 Tenyi Sorso out of the 19 and one Pure Sorso. And then out of all the Lyrillus Tri Brigade, there's one specifically going second Lyrillus Tri Brigade, and the rest one just all regular ones. Out of all the DPE Invoke Dogmatica variants, there are two of them being regular and one of them being a DPE Invoke Dogmatica with an Eldritch. And then the prank kits and Drytron, just relatively same. The prank kits, most of the prank kits are still just pure prank kits, but there's one of them being a DPE prank kits that we'll be covering later this report. And then here's the breakdown for others. We can see quite a few different decks in this week's tournament results. I guess people are really just like bringing the decks to off the table, maybe due to Pasadena being canceled and turning to a remote to regional. I mean, remote to YCS. And then the DPE chart. DPE, the number of DPE still relatively staying the same, being about 30 to 40, usually about like one third of the format. And then this week is actually exactly one third of the decks we collected. Out of all the DPE lists, 12 DP, well, technically 13 DP Invoke Dogmatica variants, and then followed by Drytron, Sky Striker, PK, Tri Brigade, two other different Eldritch, the one of them being a Cyverse Eldritch, one of them being an Invoked with like Magician Souls Eldritch, and then a Prank Kit, and obviously a hero. So, I guess we start talking about the same thing again, Tenyi Sorso. This is first play list from a remote regional this weekend. He finished 4-1 with this build of Tenyi Sorso. Most of the lists are relatively the same at this point because Tenyi Sorso really has evolved to its almost optimal state. But during the past few weeks, Dimension Barrier has like an increasing popularity in almost every deck, even including Tenyi Sorso, due to how effective Dimension Barrier is to stop both synchro summons from Source Souls, as well as fusion summons from both invoked variants and fusion Destiny for DPE, Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. And in order to combat Dimensional Barrier, the Sorcerer players start running Draco Master of the Tenyi, the Link 3, and it's relatively being widely played now as an answer, as like an alternative ending board monster to summon after the opponent's Dimensional Barrier has resolved. And then, as we all know, like Sorcerer Moya is like one of the key starter cards in Sorcerer deck, and then Heavenly Dragon Circle is like almost a guaranteed staple now in Sorcerer 10 Sorcerer decks to help Sorcerer Moye resolving its effect through common hand trap negations such as like Effect Veiler and Infinite Impermanence. Because of that, Effect Veiler actually has a significant drop in terms of how much it's being played, and most people start running Siphon Gear Gamma instead of Effect Veilers for the fact Gamma guarantees to negate Moye and then destroy it, no matter if Heavenly Dragon Circle is being chained to the hand trap or not. Even if it's chained to it, it will still prevent the Sorcerer player. It will still prevent the Sorcerer player summoning the token of Moye, and therefore require them a lot to even continue comboing after that. So that's pretty much Sorso, and next we have Lyrillus Tri-Brigade. This is also a regional list, finished 4-1 at 4th place after Swiss. And then due to the format requires quite more explosive plays at the beginning, like at the first few turns at the beginning of the games, Pot of Desires is now becoming the actual pot um, in Lyrla decks. Like Pot of Desire with its more explosive characteristics, running with a max amount of Lyrless monster lineup is more in favor than the old either Small World with Dynatherium or Pot of Prosperity with like Tri-Brigade Oath, like how we saw at the beginning of the format. And then as an answer to like the increasing dimensional barrier and Harpy's Featherstorm, Mr. Mine has like a reappearance in or as an out to those floodgate traps. And then besides that, Red Reboot is also going back to a lot of the lists. And at this point almost becoming a staple as it not only deal with like dimensional barrier, which not many other cards can do, but also it helps to deal with like play against back row control decks such as Invoked and Eldritch. And next we have the DP Invoked Automatica. This is also relatively standard. This list is the first play list for player A in the CCS 3v3. And him and both of his teammates were playing DP Invoke Dogmatica. And then their main deck are the same. And then, if I remember correct, there's like very few cards different in the side deck. And while they finished first place, they got like fantastic results with it. And a thing is like when playing against Sorcerer, as a Sorcerer player, it's not that easy to set up both an Omni Negate, mainly being Baronet the Flower, or Baroness is how people call it, and at the same time resolving Archnemesis Protos to declare Light or Dark. Um, it, it's definitely possible, but it does require quite a bit of above average hands. And even if like Baroness and Protos are being summoned and trying to resolve, it's not that hard to force out Baroness's only one negate on the field with common cards in this Invoke Dogmatica list, such as like Nibiru, Imperm, or next turn Nadir Servant, or just straight negate it with Forbidden Droplets. Therefore, combined with all the cards I just mentioned, Mystic Mine is like a relatively good alternative win condition against Sorcerer's ending board. Because you can easily force out their one, if any, negate and just slam Mystic Mine and then potentially either deck them out or get like a very good tempo for the game. And Mr. Mind is also being a field spell. It's like another target for terraforming to search, and thus giving terraforming another purpose to not just search Alistair, but also search like a floodgate or just a potential card to force out negates from opponent. And then next there is the DP Prankets that, like I mentioned earlier. This is a top A list from the 3v3 CCS number 1. And then before the release of the Brave token, or at this point the Adventure tokens releasing TCG, like some players, including this one, already start pick up Prankets for this current format. well, the exception being this specific list has the addition of DPE, the Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. And then since the Prankit Doodlebird, the link 2, is actually a wind attribute link 2. So combining with Prankit Fancies, the wind one, making the Harvest Word, the Doom Eagle, like actually a choice in like in the extra deck in the specific list. Doom Eagle is actually a very useful thing to handle both DPE and DPE's fusion material, as we saw it usually being played in different like Tri-Brigade variant decks. And then also, like in addition to it, this like Doom Eagle can also doing some sort of interruption against tangy monsters or just any other decks in the format, like any other monsters in the format that has like relying on graveyard effects such as Drytrons. So that's definitely an interesting pick for this specific Prankets list, including Doom Eagle in the extra deck. And then with the incoming Brave tokens and at the end of the month, Prankits is expected to be go even better. So we might see more coverage on Prankits in the future, and who knows. And after that, the final list I'm going to cover today is Drytron. This is the first playlist from One Up TCG Remote Regional on Saturday. He went undefeated for 5 rounds, piloting a relatively unique build of Drytron. In addition to like regular combos, just to comboing for numerous negations, going through either Hell Perfection or Hell of Ultimateness, in addition to it, he included another line to kind of quote unquote search floodgates in the specific list using Beatrice, the Lady of the Eternal, to send a floodgate trap like Golden Match or Skildring to graveyard, and then link climb using or going through barricade board blocker into Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon, instead of using what people know Auroradon for, the tribute and summon Mecha Phantom Beast effect. He used Auroradon's third effect to tribute 3 token to add a trap back from the graveyard that got milled earlier by Beatrice. So going through this whole process, he technically surged a trap off the deck, and usually being a floodgate, as you see in this list, Golden or Skildring. And Golden and Skildring are actually very effective tools in the current format, specifically to deal with top decks like Sorcel Tenyi, because Tenyis, all different Tenyis are different attributes, and all Sorcels are actually different attributes as well. And then on the other hand, it has almost no side effect on Drytron monsters, being Drytrons are all light and then just summons while resolving their effects, so they are bypassing Skildring on the field. And then, in addition to that, having Mr. Mind, as like I mentioned earlier in the Lyrla section, Mr. Mind is also a very good tool to deal with Arch Nemesis Protos declaring light, which that used to be thought as the reason why Drytron is kind of off the format because of Protos. But now all the Drytron, or the Drytron player has found a relatively answer to it, being Mr. Mind. So this new route of playing Drytron does showing some interesting thoughts behind it, and then maybe we'll see the Drytron deck evolve even further just based on different like the current format. Who knows? So that'll be it for this week's report. This week's just due to how many tournaments existing during the weekend, there's quite a bit of interesting things. Also, unfortunately, with announcement of YCS Pasadena being canceled, I guess a lot of people just decide to not hold their tech and just start use it. If they're not really interested in like the remote device, yes. But on the other hand, there are probably still a good amount of people holding their secrets for this YCS, despite it's got changed to a remote YCS. And then, but overall, the format is not really changing, and it has evolved into like an almost ending phase, and probably won't change at all until the next Forbidden Limited list, which expected to be soon. But still, there's still the Vice is coming. I'm sorry to apologize. This week's report is a little bit late. I I had a COVID shot on Monday night, so I just decided to. I was sick a little bit, and I decided to take additional day of break after the shot. So, but I hope this is still like early enough to get the report out so it can help people to decide some last minute decisions for the incoming remote devices. And then, yeah, I'm looking forward to the results for the incoming remote devices next weekend. And then hope we're going to see some interesting things. If not, hope we see a big ban list that's going to shape the meta. And that being said, if you are interested in the detail list, like the deck list specifically, as well as a spreadsheet, feel free to join my Patreon for $5 a month. I will usually update the link to the Google Doc and the picture version of the like what you're watching into the Patreon. And then, obviously, thanks to everyone who signed up for the Patreon. I appreciate everyone's support. And then, if you're interested, feel free to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to send more support, join my Patreon for more benefits. And that being said, thanks for watching, and I will see everyone in the incoming week. And good luck at the YCS. See ya.